A day after India conducted surgical strikes in Pakistan, killing 38 terrorists, Indian forces are on high alert across the LOC, prepared for any sort of response from Pakistan. Our forces have been deployed in huge numbers across the border, and villagers have also been shifted from their homes. The Prime Minister, meanwhile, will hold a key meet today to review security. Here's a detailed report.
After our Jawan's brave surgical strike in POK, a high alert has been sounded along the LOC, with India preparing for any sort of response from Pakistan. Fully expecting a knee-jerk reaction from the neighbouring country, the spotlight is on the BSF and the Indian Army after the overnight adventure into POK. Leaving nothing to chance, villages close to the border are now being evacuated to avoid any civilian casualties in the event of a violent response from Pakistan.
हम तो पूरे आर्मी के साथ डट के मुकाबला करेंगे। जितने भी लोग आपके सामने ये नौजवान खड़े हैं, ये सारे आर्मी में नहीं है, लेकिन ये फिर भी अपना एक दिल पूरा हिंदुस्तान की तरफ लगा के रखे हैं।
हमने अपनी फैमिली को सबको भेज दिया, यहाँ से बच्चों को भेज दिया हुआ है, बट हम यहाँ पे खड़े हैं क्योंकि हम नौजवान हैं। हम देश के लिए लड़ेंगे, हम अपनी आर्मी के साथ यहाँ पे खड़े रहेंगे।
Following the build-up and tension on the international border, the authorities in Jammu and Kashmir have asked the locals to leave their homes, particularly the people living in the periphery of 10 kilometers have been asked to leave and move to safer places.
The Army, Air Force and Navy are in operation readiness mode, with fighter jets ready to strike in a matter of 5 minutes. Meanwhile, the western border from Gujarat to Rajasthan is also on high alert. It's not just India that's on a high vigil. Military intelligence reports have confirmed that the Pakistan Army has also moved its troops to the border. The Modi government is watching the developments across the border very closely to be prepared for any kind of response from Pakistan. Prime Minister Modi will meet with his cabinet committee to review the security arrangements at the LOC. The Pak establishment, meanwhile, has been having sleepless nights for over a week now, with the highest level of military drills being organised. And the Indian Army's successful surgical strike has definitely caught them off guard, forcing them to regroup. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif will meet with his cabinet ministers today, and a high-level cabinet committee meet to review security will also take place. A day after the Indian Army's strong response to terror, it's the developments in Pakistan that everyone's watching like a hawk. The Modi government has made it clear that India will not take any form of response lying down. The time has come to give a fitting reply to Pakistan in the only language that they seem to understand. Bureau Report, India Today.
Even as Pakistan gets into a huddle today, it faces an unprecedented crisis, not just at its border. The nation has failed to garner any support internationally, and even its key allies abandoning it, choosing to take a neutral stand on the surgical strike. Here's a look at how the world has reacted to India's strike.
India's surgical strike isn't just a warning to Pakistan, but to terrorists that we will no longer just stand by and watch if blood is spilled. And the world is standing by India, with even Pakistan's allies refusing to condemn the surgical strike that killed nearly 40 terrorists and 2 Pak Army Jawans. Soon after the strike, the Modi government summoned envoys of 25 countries, including US, China and Russia, and briefed them about the operation, deeming it a classic counter-terror op. As a result of the government's many tactics to isolate Pakistan on the global stage, not one nation has stood by Pakistan. Pakistan's biggest ally, China, has taken a neutral stand on the operation. The Chinese Foreign Ministry called for restraint and only highlighted that the situation is being monitored. Pakistan has time and again run to the United States seeking an intervention, but the superpower has refused to entertain its plea. The White House has in fact approved of the strike, urging for action to combat terror.
We continue to urge actions to combat and delegitimize groups like LET and the Haqqani Network and Jaish Mohammed.
The United Nations, meanwhile, has also sought for a constructive dialogue, expressing concern over the rising tensions between India and Pakistan. The strongest stance was possibly taken by India's neighbour Bangladesh, which also stood by India's boycott call of SAARC. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's advisor welcomed the surgical strike.
Promotion of the development, cooperation and understanding cannot go along with the unwanted type of interference in the internal affairs or and some sort of aggression on the country, on a sovereign country.
Pakistan has been left with no support whatsoever internationally, and India's surgical strike has only isolated the country further on the global stage. Bureau Report, India Today.
The world is standing by us as the government has strongly stated that the strike was a counter-terror operation. It was a well-planned, carefully executed strike with the top government and army officials giving the final go-ahead. Here's an exclusive report on the strike and how it was carried out by our forces.
The Indian Army conducted surgical strikes last night at these launch pads.
It took 10 days for the army to prepare its response to Uri. According to top-level sources, the operation began a little after midnight. Several teams of highly trained para-commandos were inserted into POK, flying in the army's Dhruv helicopters. On target were Pakistan's terror factories, 6 of them to be precise.
Based on very specific and credible information which we received yesterday, that some terrorist teams had positioned themselves at launch pads along the line of control.
5 crack teams of 25 personnel conducted the operation, all from the 4 and 9 para-special forces. Armed with M4 rifles, grenades, smoke grenades, under-barrel grenade launchers, night vision goggles and camera-mounted helmets, they stormed into POK in the dead of night. 6 launch pads targeted in Bhimbar, Khel, Tatapani, Lipa, all across the LOC. The camps were located at a distance of up to 3 kilometers from the line of control. The special commandos inflicted heavy damage to terror infrastructure, using grenades and firing indiscriminately at the terrorists. According to reports, up to 40 terrorists were eliminated in the operation. The operation was all over at 4:30 a.m. with all soldiers making it back safe and sound.
This operation took the Pakistanis by complete surprise. It was executed between 1 to 3 kilometers of the line of control on the Pakistani side. In fact, it was when the Indian troops were returning after the successful completion of the operation that the Pakistanis even realized. And then, of course, they resorted to firing, ceasefire violation, which was reported first this morning by India Today.
Pakistan, however, has disputed all claims, saying that just 2 of its soldiers died in ceasefire violations by India. Meanwhile, there was also action in the corridors of power in Delhi. Each move, each gunshot was being monitored live in Delhi in a top-secret war room in the Defence Ministry. Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar, Army Chief General Dalbir Singh Suhag and other top officials were watching the meticulously planned 4-hour operation live in the war room. Sources tell India Today that RAW, the nation's intelligence agency, was given the task of identifying the terror camps a week ago. The agency had reportedly marked out all activities and the presence of terrorists in each camp in detail. With Manjeet Negi and Jugal Purohit, Bureau Report, India Today.
From Indus threat to global isolation to surgical strikes, Pakistan has been completely cornered after the cowardly Uri attack. Here's a look at India's multi-pronged strategy.
Heavily armed terrorists stormed a battalion headquarters of the army in Uri town, killing 19 Jawans and injuring 20 other personnel. 5 days after the Uri attack, Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to punish the perpetrators of the terror strike at the BJP's National Council meet.
पाकिस्तान के हुक्मरान सुन ले, हमारे 18 जवानों का बलिदान बेकार नहीं जाएगा.
After his stern warning, India launched a multi-pronged strategy to choke Pakistan. First, Prime Minister Modi flexed his Indus muscle, holding a meet to review the treaty on September 26th.
छोटे-छोटे आतंकवादी समूह जो छिटपुट काम कर रहे थे.
After the Indus threat, Sushma launched a blistering attack on Pakistan at the UN General Assembly.
दुनिया में ऐसे देश हैं जो बोते भी हैं तो आतंकवाद, उगाते भी हैं तो आतंकवाद, बेचते भी हैं तो आतंकवाद और निर्यात भी करते हैं तो आतंकवाद. आतंकवादियों को पालना कुछ देशों का शौक बन गया है.
Followed by Sushma's attack, the process to declare Pakistan a terror state began.
कि पाकिस्तान को एक आतंकी देश घोषित करने के प्रक्रिया में हम लगे हैं. दुनिया भी लग जाए इसमें.
On September 27th, the chorus to globally isolate Pakistan gained momentum. An online White House petition asking for Pakistan to be declared as a state sponsor of terror crossed 1 lakh signatures.
There are terrorist groups on PAC that seek refuge or asylum or shelter in Pakistan's territory.
After India, 3 more nations pull out of the SAARC summit to be held in Islamabad in November.
We have made it very clear that talks and terror cannot go together. Pakistan must dismantle the infrastructure of terrorism. The very fact that 4 member countries of SAARC have decided against going to Islamabad for the SAARC summit, I think is a very, very, very powerful message.
And finally, completely cornering Pakistan, India conducted surgical strikes to eliminate terror factories near LOC.
Significant casualties have been caused to the terrorists and those who are trying to support them.
Further stepping up the pressure on Pakistan, Prime Minister Modi has called for a meet to review Pakistan's MFN status. Now with Pakistan completely cornered, can it continue to live in denial anymore? Bureau Report, India Today.
Political parties presented a united stand following a surgical strike by Indian forces. Opposition leaders like Sonia Gandhi and Mulayam Singh Yadav hailed the army for its successful operation and extended their support to the NDA for its bold response to the Uri attack.
A rare display of unity by the political parties. Leaders cutting across party lines complimenting the army and the government for carrying out the surgical strikes inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir against the terrorists. Congress President Sonia Gandhi issued a statement and praised the armed forces and also extended her support to the government.
India has been exercising restraint far too long, and unfortunately that had been interpreted as a weakness.
Proved now the country is safe in the hands of the Prime Minister and the army. All Indians are appreciating the steps taken by our Indian army in countering.
Soon after it was announced that army conducted surgical strikes, the government reached out to the opposition and briefed them about the operation. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Left Leader Sitaram Yechuri, Chief Ministers of Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir, West Bengal were informed about the successful operation. In the evening, an all-party meeting was called at the North Block, where the opposition leaders were briefed about the operation in detail. The leaders, in one voice, backed the Modi government and army.
From our side, I have congratulated the Indian Army for these operations. Good, that is good. But what exactly is the overall assessment? They said it will take a little time to make that assessment. So let us see. Let's wait and see.
Government and army has received some intelligence reports in the recent days that again attempts are being made to infiltrate terrorists. Taking that information, the army has worked out a detailed counter-terrorist action.
और ये ज़रूरी था कि इस तरह की टेररिस्ट जो गतिविधियां हमारे मुल्क के खिलाफ पीओके और पाकिस्तान से चल रही हैं उनको ख़त्म किया जाए और हमने आर्मी को अपनी तरफ से बहुत-बहुत बधाई दी है.
However, reacting to the surgical strikes, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti has expressed concern over the escalation of tension at the border. The reactions of the political parties after the anti-terror operation in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is a welcome departure from their earlier stand. Remember, soon after the Uri attack, the political parties indulged in war of words over the issue.
With surgical strikes in POK, India has given out a strong message to Pakistan that those harboring terrorists will not be spared. With India's action, there has been a briefing of the envoys as well as the top political leaders. But India plans to beef up security and is also moving people from the borders in a mood that perhaps there could be an anticipation of a retaliatory attack by Pakistan. With camera person Ashwani, Jugal Purohit, Maha Siddiqui, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi for India Today.